Hello, my name is Raul Cuevas, and my presentation is titled Police Pursuits Catching the Suspect versus Protecting the Public. And I'm going to be going over police pursuits that create an ethical conflict between the responsibility to apprehend offenders and the responsibility to protect human life. I will examine pursuit risk, the Supreme Court case Scott versus Harris, ethical theories, leadership responsibilities, corrective actions, and how faith can help guide these difficult decisions. So, what is a police pursuit and what are some ethical dilemmas? So, police officers have a duty to apprehend offenders, but they also have a duty to protect human life. Although the fleeing driver creates the initial danger, officers must decide whether continuing the pursuit increases that danger. This involves more than asking whether the suspect deserves to be caught. Officers must consider the risks placed on others, drivers, pedestrians, passengers, and fellow officers. And my position on this is that pursuits may be necessary for dangerous offenders, but they should end when the risk outweighs the need for an immediate arrest. So, a police pursuit occurs when a driver intentionally refuses to stop and uses speed or evasive driving maneuvers to avoid arrest. California Vehicle Code Section 17004.7 requires qualifying pursuit policies to address initiation of a pursuit, supervision, risk assessment, termination of a pursuit, training, and public safety. Officers must consider the seriousness of the suspect offense, traffic, speed, road conditions, the weather, and also whether they can identify and arrest the suspect at a later time safely. Because conditions change quickly, officers must continuously reevaluate the decision. A pursuit that was reasonable at the start may eventually become too dangerous to continue. For example, if the speeds become so high that it's not only a danger for that person, but everybody around them that's in the pursuit. So, police pursuits are dangerous and they create serious risk for officers, suspects, and innocent members of the public. California reported 11,985 pursuits in 2022. More than 2,200 of those resulted in crashes. 1,345 people were injured and 34 people were killed. Of those injured, 406 of them were uninvolved third parties. So they were just your normal people just driving on the street when the pursuit was going on. And they were crashed into by either the suspect or maybe a police officer. National research identified 5,425 fatal pursuit crashes between 2009 and 2023, resulting in 6,352 deaths. Most occurred at night and in urban areas. These statistics do not mean every pursuit is unjustified. However, they show why officers must carefully compare the need for an immediate apprehension with the foreseeable danger to innocent people. One important case law regarding police pursuits is Scott versus Harris. So Victor Harris fled from a traffic stop and led officers on a dangerous high-speed pursuit. Deputy Timothy Scott struck Harris' vehicle to terminate the pursuit. Harris then crashed and became quadriplegic. The Supreme Court ruled that Scott's actions were constitutionally reasonable because Harris' driving presented a substantial and immediate danger to the public. So the reason this is important is because this case demonstrates that officers may take significant action to stop a dangerous pursuit. However, the decision must still be proportional to the threat. Something may be legally permitted, but officers should also evaluate whether it is ethical under the specific circumstances. Utilitarianism judges an action by its consequences and seeks the greatest overall good while minimizing harm. During a pursuit, officers must weigh the benefit of immediately apprehending the suspect against the dangers it creates for others. Pursuing a violent offender who presents an immediate threat may be justified because stopping that person can prevent additional harm. However, pursuing someone for a minor traffic or property offense may create more danger than the original offense. From a utilitarian perspective, the expected benefit of the pursuit should outweigh its foreseeable risk. So one thing that police officers must look at and consider is duty-based ethics versus virtue ethics. So duty-based ethics focuses on an officer's responsibilities. So officers have a duty to enforce the law, apprehend offenders, follow department policy, and protect innocent life. During a pursuit, these responsibilities may conflict. While as virtue ethics focuses on an officer's character, including courage, prudence, justice, humility, and self-control. Courage does not always mean continuing the pursuit. Sometimes that means terminating a dangerous pursuit, which demonstrates greater discipline and judgment. Officers cannot allow anger, excitement, ego, or the desire to win to become more important than public safety, which is what they're there for. Other items police officers must consider is discretion, the culture of the police department, and leadership. So pursuits decisions occur under stress, which can affect an officer's judgment. Officers must continually compare the need to catch the suspect with the danger created by continuing the pursuit. Supervisors must provide an independent perspective and should terminate the pursuit when the risk becomes unreasonable. The department culture also matters. Leaders must make it clear that ending an unsafe pursuit demonstrates sound judgment, not failure. Review every pursuit afterwards to determine whether policy was followed, identify training needs, and improve supervision. The purpose should be accountability and learning, not automatically punishing every officer involved in the pursuit. Corrective actions must also be included, and also other resources must be considered. Departments can reduce pursuit risks through stronger policies, realistic training, supervision, and safer alternatives. Pursuits should generally be limited when the original offense is minor and the suspect presents no immediate threat. Officers should receive scenario-based training in risk assessment, emotional control, and when to terminate pursuits. Supervisors should actively monitor and manage pursuits rather than simply listen. Alternatives such as air support, GPS tagging, license plate readers, coordinated containment, and delayed arrest can help apprehend suspects without maintaining a dangerous chase. The goal is not to avoid enforcement, it is to accomplish enforcement more safely. Some of the key elements for police officers is protection of life and serving the public. Christian ethics teaches officers to pursue justice while respecting the value of every human life. Matthew 5:9 calls peacemakers blessed, connecting law enforcement with protecting others and preventing unnecessary harm. Justice requires confronting wrongdoing, but humility and self-control must guide officers' response. Anger, pride, punishment, or the desire to win should never become more important than innocent life. Police pursuits should not be completely prohibited because some suspects present an immediate threat. However, ethical policing requires officers to recognize when continuing creates more harm than good. The goal is not simply to catch the suspect, it is to protect the public while pursuing justice. This concludes my presentation. On this page you will see some of the references. And I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you.